for us, the promised land is the assignment that God has given us on the earth. When we walk in the assignment and the purpose that God has given us on this planet, all of the way that life is supposed to go down begins to happen in our lives. That doesn't mean that we're without opposition and struggle and things of that nature, but that's where you really experience the fullness of the goodness of God when you walk in your assignment. And our prayer for this year has been, God, help us to have the faith to step out and occupy that space that you've created for us before time and space to live in, and that is our destiny and our purpose. And we've been looking at all of the principles that we need to put into practice in our lives if we're ever going to walk in our God assignment. And we found out that one of the main principles, and I keep saying this because I think it's important, and I think in our day and age, we forget to talk about this one thing, and so I'm saying it every service, and that is, if we are ever going to walk into our promised land, we've got to make an exodus from Egypt. Egypt is symbolic of the world's ways and the world's patterns and all of the things that the world says are okay and that, don't worry about it. If you're a Christian, you can do those things as well. No, God tells us that if we want to walk in our promised land, that we have to make a clean break from Egypt. We have to bounce from Egypt, not partially in Egypt and partially in the promised land, not partially in Egypt and partially in God's kingdom, but a clean break going fully committed into the things of God. And so we looked at the importance of that. And then today we're going to look at another principle that I believe is so important if we're ever going to walk in our personal promised land. And it's simply this: education is everything. Education is everything. If you're going to walk in your personal promised land, you've got to embrace this truth that education is everything. And that's the name of today's sermon. Say with me: education is everything. Interestingly enough, this is the mantra that the whole world embraces, isn't it? I mean, you hear it all the time. Education is everything. Education is everything. Stay in school. Get a good education. This is the message that's sent to us by our politicians and by the NFL and by the statistics and even by Hollywood. Anybody remember the movie Grease? You remember the famous song, Beauty School Dropout? Right? Well, what was he saying? What was he singing? Frankie Avalon was singing to Frenchie, you got to go back to school. You got to stay in school. Why? Because education is everything. But I'm not talking to you today about an education in reading and writing and arithmetic. I'm talking about a season of preparation in the school of the Spirit, which every child of God will enroll in during the course of their lives, whether they want to or not, whether they consent to it or not, if they want to enter into their promised land. And the school I'm talking about enrolling in is called Desert University, better known as DU. Have you got the t-shirt? Have you been there before? If you haven't, I assure you that you will go to that place at some time in your life, because this is a university that every Bible great has attended. God told Joseph that he would be a prime minister. He gave him a dream that he would be great. No sooner does he get the dream, Joseph finds himself in DU's prison cell. Why? He had to get prepared for the place that God was going to take him to. Elijah was a great man. He called down fire from heaven. He found himself in DU's cave quarters. See, he had to get prepared for what God was going to use him for in life. Jesus was born to be the deliverer, but even Jesus, what did he do? He spent 40 days and 40 nights in the wilderness, and today's character, today's person, today's example of why we have to go to DU and enroll in DU, Moses spent 40 years in the desert preparing for his journey. Every Bible great has gone into Desert University, and the same is true for you and I. But our enrollment in DU is not meant for our personal destruction, but rather it's for our spiritual preparation